These championship rings should be made of cubic zirconia.
It wasn't like the Lakers. I didn't think they was going. A lot of people didn't think they would win if the regular season was in the NBA.
I agree. We were starting to hear the rumblings like, nobody's gonna respect this chip.
Man, I'm so recently Stephen A and Skip Bayless had a sit down, and of course the 2020 bubble was one of the topics of conversation. And to no one's surprise, Skip Bayless was spewing his normal BS about how the 2020 bubble ring is fake and it doesn't count. And we've heard the other narratives like there was no travel, there was no crowd, there was a long layoff, the circumstances were different from other championships. So today, I'm here to tell you why every single one of those narratives are completely wrong. Now, I know I'm a Lakers fan. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh, he's being biased. But I promise you, this is not Lakers propaganda. This is context, facts, and some common sense. But before we go any further, I just want to give a shout out to the people that voted on the poll that I posted, as although it didn't win, I did promise that I would make this video. And if you want to find out how the video that actually won turned out, go ahead and click the link on your screen. Also, in case you're new here, I do talk about the NBA, the NFL, and sometimes the WWE. So if that's your vibe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the video. Le Mickey, Le Disney. Now, if you've logged into X enough and you're in the NBA sphere, you've probably seen this crap a lot of times. And it's just crazy to me how this is the narrative that people have ran with for so many years, when the fact is, this is not what was said at the time. I want to take y'all back to what the media actually was saying when the bubble was first discussed. See, the Lakers, the #1 seed in the West Lakers, they had earned home court advantage for the playoffs and had all the momentum going for them, as they had just come off wins against the soon-to-be MVP Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. And they also beat the so-called new King of LA and his Clippers squad in that same weekend. Now, I also want you to keep in mind that this wasn't some early season success. This was literally towards the end of the season, where the Lakers held a 52-19 record with only 11 games left. But of course, as we know, the NBA got shut down due to the pandemic. So I really gotta ask y'all, for a team that fought hard for home court advantage through 71 games before the shutdown, how does this bubble somehow become such an advantage for the Lakers? And this was seen after the initial start of the bubble, when the Lakers started off very rusty, where the Lakers went 3-5 in their 8 seeding games, which prompted multiple articles to be written that the Lakers were actually one of the losers of this format due to their poor play. Now, I want to touch real quick on Skip Bayless's comments saying that it was a pandemic ring, that the Lakers only won it by default because all these other teams, they didn't want to be there. Huh? We literally saw the most efficient playoff performances ever in the bubble. So how does that make sense? How do we have some of the purest, most high-level basketball being played if they didn't want to be there? We had Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell going absolutely crazy in the first round. Did they not want to be there? We had that same Denver Nuggets team come back from 3-1 twice in this playoffs. Did they not want to be there? We had Damian Lillard put his team on his back just to drag them to the playoffs in the first place. Did he not want to be there? Or was it because that team of frontrunners that you picked to win it all didn't show up when it mattered most? Is that the reason, Skip? Speaking of those frontrunners, let's talk about some of the Clippers players' quotes when it came to the NBA bubble after the fact. Starting with Lou Will, when he went on Trae Young's podcast and decided to spew some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Where this man with a straight face decided to say, oh, well, we would have won a ring if it was under normal circumstances. We didn't even want to be there. We reached day 67 or some shit and we were like, oh, we want to get out of here now. We heard some rumblings that this ring won't even mean anything. Was that before or after y'all were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets? Because it sure as hell seemed like y'all wanted to be there at that moment. It sure as hell seemed like y'all were trying when y'all were up 3-1. So what happened after that 3-1 lead? Do y'all just decide we're up 3-1, we're just gonna stop trying because we want to go home? Does that even make sense? Now, I also want to touch on Daryl Morey's comments, where he said that he believes that the ring would have been legitimate if his Rockets had won it. But he's hearing rumblings around the league that this championship doesn't hold up as a legitimate one. Now, I heard this one and I'm like, man, it's the wording that he used for this quote. Had the Rockets won the title, I would have celebrated it as legitimate. Well, yeah, of course. Now, I'm really wondering, did he really hear this around people from the league, that this wasn't a genuine championship? Or is he just salty about that ass whooping that the Lakers give the Rockets in the second round? I don't know. So y'all tell me, when it comes to the fake ring narrative, why were we hyping up the Battle of LA? Why were we seeing peak basketball being played at this time? If all of these random players started to play better in the bubble, wouldn't that actually make it harder to win? Just a thought. But let's move on to the next narrative, that the Lakers only won because of the long layoff. Now, the main argument I've seen around this is regarding the health of Anthony Davis and potentially LeBron James, as he was getting up there in age. But this AD narrative actually came around more after the fact, when AD became a lot more injury prone after this season with the Lakers. As during this season before the shutdown, AD had played 61 out of a possible 71 games this year, which is actually more than LeBron played. And even in the case with LeBron, he only played one less game. So I really gotta ask y'all, we're towards the end of the season here before this shutdown even took place, and AD and LeBron were relatively healthy throughout the entire season. Does that sound like there's a chance that AD would possibly miss time? And what's crazy is that we're not focusing on the other teams that actually benefited from this shutdown even more than the Lakers. Take the Clippers, for example, the team that everyone labeled as the favorite to win the championship this year, where we literally had Paul George dealing with lingering shoulder issues right before the shutdown. Patrick Beverley was dealing with a nagging groin injury, and Lou Williams was managing a sore calf. Not to mention, they were road managing Kawhi Leonard the entire season. Wouldn't this layoff actually benefit them? But if that's not enough of an example for you, what about the Milwaukee Bucks, where Giannis, just days before the shutdown, was dealing with a minor joint capsule sprain in his left knee? So I just named you two teams where there were key players dealing with injuries before the shutdown. And these two teams would actually have been favored against the Lakers if the season was under normal circumstances. But yet, it's the Lakers that get the most flack for this layoff. Also, I just need to state the obvious, that every single team had the same amount of rest as the Lakers. In addition, I had previously mentioned that the Lakers had momentum before the shutdown even occurred, where they beat those same Milwaukee Bucks and LA Clippers in the same weekend. So wouldn't this long layoff actually hurt them? Not to mention, they were a vet-heavy team, so this layoff would literally cause rust. And we actually saw this when basketball resumed during the seeding games. And lastly, I would like to re-emphasize that this team was the #1 seed in the West, second overall win record in the NBA. It wasn't like they were some middle-of-the-pack team that ended up surprising everybody. So yes, people will use the recency bias of the other seasons after this, because AD has suffered a lot of injuries. But during that specific season, this simply was not the case. So how about another narrative? How about the one that the Lakers had an easy path to the NBA Finals? Which this one is hilarious to me because I saw the switch up in real time. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Lakers were rusty when they got into the bubble, which had them having a lot of doubters. Now, of course, they were the #1 seed, so they were favored against the Blazers, but that didn't stop a lot of people from saying that the Blazers were the most dangerous 8th seed. And that was because Damian Lillard was entering this playoffs scorching hot, and also the fact that the Blazers were great with the 3-ball, while the Lakers struggled in that area. In fact, Skip Bayless himself was one of the people saying to beware of the Blazers. And when the Lakers lost game 1 of that series, everyone lost their collective minds, as we had Charles Barkley talking about how the Lakers were going to get swept. But of course, the Lakers won this series in 5. And then came the excuses that the Lakers should have easily won this anyway. And then I even saw people bringing up the fact that Dame got injured, which didn't really make sense as he got injured during Game 4 when the game was already decided. The Lakers were literally on the verge of being up 3-1 anyway. And then came the Rockets series, where everyone was saying, this ain't the Blazers. And honestly, to the Rockets' credit, once they switched to that small ball lineup, they did have some level of success against the Lakers during the regular season. And this would once again prove to be the case in Game 1, as the Lakers would once again end up losing, which of course sent social media into another frenzy. But that was until the Lakers realized that Russ can't shoot, Harden can't defend, and they were simply the bigger, more physical team, as they went on to win 4 straight and again beat the Rockets in 5. So what about the conference finals? Well, by that point, everyone's favorite Clippers had already blown a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets. And this is where the narratives start to get nasty, as because the Clippers couldn't do their jobs and disappointed everyone that had hyped up this Battle of LA, it somehow became a reason to delegitimize the Lakers' impending ring. As Skip Bayless would already start coping, already congratulating the Lakers and LeBron James, sarcastically, for winning another ring. And it somehow became about how the Lakers had quote-unquote avoided the Clippers, which not only is a disservice to the Lakers, but is flat out disrespectful to this Denver Nuggets team that literally came back from 3-1 twice in a single playoff run. The same Denver Nuggets team that upset the Clippers, who was everyone's favorite to win the championship. The same Denver Nuggets team that we're seeing thriving today and have since won a championship of their own. So that brings me to the NBA Finals, where they faced off against the Miami Heat. Now, by this point, the Lakers were favored to win this series, and on top of that, the Heat did suffer some injuries as well. But even with those injuries, this Heat team did drag this series to 6 games, as Jimmy Butler, the same Jimmy Butler that would drag his team to the finals only a few years later, would have the series of his life. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Lakers had the hardest path to the NBA Finals, but it's just the fact that everyone is using this revisionist history, all because the Clippers didn't get it done when they were supposed to. It's like a lot of people just jumped on the Skip Bayless bandwagon in order to delegitimize this ring, but it's ridiculous because this was not what was being said in real time. Now, what about that narrative that the Lakers weren't actually the best team? See, we've already talked about the fact that the media fell in love with the Clippers and crowned them the favorite to win that year's championship. And since that narrative failed, it seemed like there's been a push to make it seem like the Lakers weren't as good as they actually were. Like, are we forgetting that this team started the season 24-3? Are we forgetting that they had 2 separate 7-game win streaks in that span, along with a 10-game win streak as well? Are we somehow forgetting that this was a top 3 defense in the NBA? Or what about the fact that this Lakers team beat every single playoff team from the West at least once that season during the regular season? Or, since people like bringing up injuries when it comes to AD, how about the fact that the Lakers were 6-3 without Anthony Davis that season, with 2 of those 3 losses coming by 1 possession? In fact, one of their most impressive wins that season was against the Oklahoma City Thunder, where both LeBron and AD sat out. What about this fact? That the Lakers were 57-0 when leading after 3 quarters during this season. See, as much as people might hate to admit it, the facts that I just laid out paint a clear picture. This Lakers team was simply an elite, well-rounded team. And it's honestly a shame that the front office hasn't built a team anywhere close to this ever since. So we've gone through multiple narratives now, and hopefully, based on what I've told you today, you realize that this ring should actually be viewed as legitimate. And I've always had this question, why is it that this ring is the one that's being criticized the most? It's just funny to me that people love to bring up the fact that there were such unique conditions and there were no fans, when literally the very next season, almost the entire season was played without any fans in attendance at all. And even when they brought back fans for around the playoffs, it was still done in a limited capacity. But we rarely hear about putting an asterisk next to this one. And this is not to say that the Bucks ring is illegitimate. No. The Bucks ring is 100% legitimate. But I just want y'all to maybe ask yourselves, why is it in a season where there are similar circumstances in terms of no fans, why is it that nobody really questions the Bucks ring like they do with the Lakers? So if you're still thinking that this is a fake Mickey Mouse ring, I want you to really be honest with yourself and ask, is it really because of the unique circumstances around this ring? Or is it simply because of who won it? But yeah, let me know in the comments. What do you think of the Lakers 2020 championship? And what do you think about the bubble in general? Do you view it as a legitimate championship? Or do you still have that point of view that it's a Mickey Mouse ring? Also, I always believe that every single ring is legitimate no matter what. But I want to ask y'all, is there a particular championship that you would put an asterisk next to? And of course, if you've made it this far in this video and you've enjoyed it, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe for more, as it does help this channel grow. Also, if any of the videos on your screen pique your interest, go ahead and check them out, or check out some of my other content on my channel. And as always, thank you for hanging with me today. It's Dre, and these have been my thoughts. Until next time.